Hey, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And welcome to episode 352.
Wow.
Welcome to another episode, another week. I hope you're all keeping well and safe. We hope you've had a cracking week and that you've managed to do something Doctor Who related.
Yes, indeed.
It's been a great week, hasn't it, for Doctor Who, bud? Finally.
Wow. It feels like, what year is this? It feels like we've drifted back to 20 whenever.
Yeah, it does. We were saying, weren't we, was it last week or the week before, we were saying that it's just, we were spoiled almost when we reviewed the last story that we
Time
did.
Of the Doctor,
was it the time with that the Matt Smith? It was, wasn't it? Time of the Doctor.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, we were saying that we felt spoiled because we'd kind of forgotten almost how great Doctor Who was back in the day, from our point of view anyway. And now it feels like it's just more of the same. It's just more of the thing. And I tell you what, mate, I do feel sorry for Chibbers and Jodie, crikey, because when Russell T Davies was being interviewed at the BAFTAs and stuff, and they dropped the announcement for the new Doctor, it was really difficult to not think about that, to like solely about Doctor Who at the moment.
Yeah. And
Russell, bless him, he did his best job, didn't he, to try and say, like, look, don't worry, we're still ages away from all of my gumph coming up. Well, still huge fans of Jodie. We got some really good stuff from Jodie coming up, and so that just all went out the window, didn't it? Mere days later, when they start announcing another companion, is Murray Gold coming back? John Sims probably coming back. We've got David Tennant and Catherine Tate back. Like all of these things, it's like, well, that's not doing a great job of sort of waiting until Jodie. At least wait until she's gone. At least, because it must feel like she'll probably play this down, of course, but she must feel like a little bit like, oh, great, I'm not even out the door yet. And it feels like you're all just excited about new Doctor Who and the new era and stuff. So, crikey.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I couldn't care less about Jodie and Chibnall, but I appreciate there are fans out there that do like them and are probably a bit miffed by all the excitement. But the thing is, and people have been, a certain section of fandom have been getting cross with RTD because they said, oh, you said you were going to keep quiet and now it's all kicking off. But they're filming in Camden in the middle of London with David Tennant with the TARDIS. There's no way you can sort of keep this under wraps. So they've kind of got no choice but to just put these announcements out. And I just think to have this buzz back, and there is a huge buzz. I mean, the Doctor Who fandom's erupted again, and there's a lot of positivity. Apart from the Jodie fans are annoyed that it's completely overshadowing her last episode. But I'm so excited because I haven't felt like this in ages. I'm so excited, and I don't know about you. I'm not too bothered about spoiler pics. Like, I'm really loving seeing all these photos of them filming in Camden. I don't want too much spoiled. Like, as long as it's just what we're getting now, there's a sort of level. I don't want to see major plot points posted on Twitter or anything like that, but just seeing these photos and stuff of just them, the TARDIS being put together and stuff like that, I'm just loving it. And Tennant and Catherine and everyone else that we've been seeing on set as well, it's really got me hyped for what's to come. And this is just the beginning, but it's the marketing as well, isn't it? Because it's not just the posts from fans that are on the scene. These little funny little icon things that they've been posting out to get you guessing. Such a simple idea, and I think this is what Russell is so good at, is coming up with these little ideas that really get the fans working together to try and figure stuff out. And I'm feeling a buzz from fandom I haven't felt in a very, very long time.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, so while I do sympathise with, the Jodie fans, I do honestly sympathise because they will be thing. But for me personally, I'm like, let's go. I'm just so up for this. It's because I was basically about to jump ship, I think, before now. I just had enough. So this has got me straight back into it, you know, personally.
Yeah, snap. And it's not our fault. That's the BBC's fault for announcing some great things. You know, we can't help but be swept up in it all, because it does feel like the old days, mate. It does feel like...
It really does.
You know, when RTD and Moffat, both of them, when they were showrunners, we had these cool announcements back in the day. We're like in between series, or, you know, a new era coming up, we'd have these very cool things. And it's such a contrast to how Chibbers has ran the show. He's ran things very secretively. It's almost like he's had a chat with the dudes that made Game of Thrones, and they're like, make sure that you don't reveal anything. Don't talk about the series. Don't say anything. Don't announce anything. And then just let the fans build themselves up. And then when it gets to the episode, it'll be so amazing that they'll be loving you for it. But I don't know. I think that strategy's sort of gone against him a little bit, because I tell you what, if Jodie's first series was an absolute banger and probably one of the best since 2005, then he could probably afford the luxury of having that kind of play. You know,
yeah, you've already built your audience. Yeah,
exactly. But you know, let's not go into that. But when the episodes and the writing for the Doctor has been a bit subpar, right? You know, from sort of mid series, what was it, 13, 14, 12? What was Jodie's first one? Series 12, 11. Sorry, yeah. So halfway through series 11, when things start to look, this is not amazing, then you do all you can, I think, between those series to get your fans engaged and everything. But he just went the other way with it. And now literally Russell's we haven't even had episode 1 yet of Russell's new era. And it just feels just so good. It feels, and there's probably a tiny bit of nostalgia that's playing a part here as well, right? Let's not beat around the bush. It's not like we're sort of immune to that. Of course it is. It's great to have old faces back and old names being talked about and stuff like that. However, some of the new announcements, obviously Kyushi, you know, the new Doctor, and the new companion, which we'll get onto in the news and stuff, that's just as exciting though. You know, they're brand new faces and fresh to everything, and that also feels very cool. So yeah, it's been a really good week to be a Doctor Who fan. And like you said, the majority of fans on Twitter and other socials have been mostly positive, like 95% of all the interactions that I've had and you've had, and just witnessing what's been going on. It's been very cool. So that's a good thing.
It's a difficult balance to have, isn't it, though? I mean, I do get it. I mean, I think when Series 11 started, I think we quite liked the fact that we didn't know a lot about the episodes. But it's getting that balance of, like, building up excitement, you like, and not revealing too much. So striking that balance is hard, I think. But at the moment, I mean, I don't know about you. What are you like with spoiler picks? Are you like me? Are you not too bothered about seeing film picks, or do you sort of, is there a line where you think, oh, come on guys, don't ruin everything? Like, the fans are all over it, and to be fair, they're probably driving the filming crew nuts, because they're probably, you know, they're constantly being told to move back. Apparently, they're constantly being told to be quiet during takes. You know, it adds a burden onto the actual filming crew. There's no doubt about it. But it's just, I suppose these days, it's just one of those things. What can you do about it? If you're going to be filming in the middle of London, you just know you're going to get crowds. In fact, we'll come on to this when we do our review of Day of the Doctor, but obviously you got that scene where the TARDIS lands in the middle of Trafalgar Square, and Moffat says in the making of, like, you know, obviously there were going to be hundreds of fans there, so I just wrote them into the script. So I just put barriers up, and you can see people watching in the background, because if a TARDIS was landing in the middle of Trafalgar Square, people would be watching with it being helicoptered in. So, you know, he just worked around it, and I love that about Moff. But it's one of those things, isn't it? You can't really get away from it in this day and age. But how do you feel about spoiler picks, though? Are you cool with it, or do you prefer it if people didn't post pics or what? Because as I said, the buzz is great at the minute, but we don't want everything ruined, obviously. It's just exciting after such a drought, isn't it? Long drought.
It's one of those things. It's I don't mind it. It's great because you get the you do get that buzz, you know, you get that sort of like, oh yes, this is very cool, like something's happening, because there are times when the official word from the BBC or whatever program you're into, whatever channel or studio's making it, sometimes you never quite you never quite know if they're being 100% with you. You know, so we have that a lot with in the video game industry. We have a lot of things that get said and then games get postponed and put back and cancelled and everything. So you never know 100% if something's going to come through. So it's down to the fans with TV and film. It's down to them to sort of give everybody actually, this is really happening and it's very cool. But I think there is a line, but the problem is you can't police or govern that, nor that you'd want to, I guess. But like, it's a bit like when Boris Johnson said, okay, people of the UK, you need to use your common sense where it concerns COVID. You knew, everybody knew in an instant that was just an absolutely ridiculous thing to say, because individually somebody would be like, okay, yeah, I get what's going on. But as a nation and as a group of people, that just goes out the window. As soon as he said that, everybody was out. You know, and it's like, common sense, what common sense? What are you talking about? It's the same thing with this. If you said to people, look, just use your common sense, don't go too mad with the spoiler picks and everything, it just doesn't work. You know, people you'll do it anyway. So, yeah, I like it to a degree, but like you, I don't want to be completely done in, so that when the episode arrives, I'm like, well, I've already seen all of this.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. I was just thinking when Chibbers took over, I think there was a bit of a part of us, I think, which felt like it felt new not to know anything, and it was quite exciting. And I think that really came from the fact that with Moffat's last series, poor old Moffat. I love Moffat, you know, watching him I was watching the making of Day of the Doctor yesterday. He's so, I miss him. He's so funny. But he just kind of gave up towards the end of Series 10. And in fact, he was just giving everything away at that point. So we, you know, like the Master reveal, remember that? They went to all that trouble of dressing up John Sim as this different character. And then Moffat just told us, like, straight off the bat, yeah, the Master's coming back. And that completely ruined that sort of what was supposed to be a shock reveal. And I think at that point, he was just, the ratings were a bit on decline and they just wanted something to try and draw people in. But otherwise, I think that would have been kept a secret. So I think that's why we went from all of that, from Moffat sort of just revealing everything in Series 10, or whoever, not necessarily Moffat, to Chibbers being the absolute opposite of like closing down the set and revealing nothing. That was quite exciting for a while, because like, yeah, we've, you know, it's quite nice not to know. But now we're at the point, I think, where fandom's in a very strange place. And I think to have, you know, Catherine and David back and seeing them filming, it's hugely exciting. And I feel like we need this, really. I feel like yeah, in other words, I'm not bothered about the spoiler picks at the moment. I might get to a point where I'm thinking, oh, come on, guys, I don't want to see any more. Leave them to it. But at the moment, I'm loving it.
I'm loving it.
I'm loving it.
Good. No, it is a good time. So anyone that's listening to this episode and have listened to us for a while, you will know that we don't actively seek out the whole spoiler picks thing. We'll never go and collate them all and then post them for you and stuff like that.
No, I don't tend to post them.
No. So if you want to go and seek them out and all that stuff, then great. But yeah, try and at least tag your things with #spoiler and stuff. So if somebody does come across it, they're like, oh, okay, I can give this a swerve and that kind of thing. So yeah. Okay, let's. Well, have you done anything Doctor Who wise? No, I'm not.
No, I haven't been off my phone. I literally haven't been off my phone. No, apart from watching the extras. So I watched Day of the Doctor for our review, obviously, and I just felt like I'd watched some of the extras on the Blu-ray, because I haven't watched them for a while. So I watched the read-through with Matt and David. You know, where they sit around the table and do the scripts read-through, and Moffat's there, and that was just brilliant. I've never watched that before, believe it or not. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that. And I also watched the making of and the 50th trailer, dude. The 50th trailer. Oh, my God, the feels. Because it's on the Blu-ray. You know the one? It's like it's sort of animation style with photo. And I don't know how they do it. You probably know, being a designer. But you know that one where they have all the doctors in it and all the screen keeps moving around from one to the other. You got like the fourth Doctor floating through space with jelly babies. And what a trailer that was. So yeah, apart from watching the extras on the Blu-ray, I haven't really done much else.
Same. Yeah, it's a cool trailer. I know what you mean. It's like freeze frame and the camera sort of rotates. Yeah, it's wicked.
Yeah. The music as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking, like, if we get anything near this for the 60th, it's going to be amazing.
It will be, mate. Yeah. I haven't done anything Doctor Who other same as you. Just check out some of the features on it and for our review story, etc. So before we land, or jump in the TARDIS, should I say, and do some of this news, I told you earlier It's no good saying, just have some common sense and be sensible. You don't have to do that when listening to the Big Blue Box podcast. Just grab the show.
Quite the opposite.
Quite the opposite, yeah. Whatever your fave podcast app is, just do a search for us. You'll find us on there. Give us a like and a follow. And a new episode lands every Friday, so you won't miss it if you subscribe. And then just go and check out all the other episodes. Everything's there, all the way back to the archaic times of 2014. Go and listen to all the shows there. So you can do that in your fave podcast app, or if you're at work and you're like, should be doing this report, but I think I'm going to listen to a podcast. You can listen to it in a browser as well. Just head over to the website, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You listen to all the episodes over there as well. Plus, you can check out all of the reviews and articles from the writing team. And we're on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Give a search, do a search for the Big Blue Box, or there are links on the website again. We chat Doctor Who throughout the week. We don't post any spoilers, but we chat Doctor Who, so come and get involved over there. And we have a free Discord server. Link is on the website. Hop over there and chat Doctor Who with other Who fans. It's all good. And also check out Adam's channel over on YouTube. It is, of course, The Geek's Handbag.
The Geek's Handbag. Yeah, I'm a YouTuber, ain't I? Yes, go and check out my channel. Lots of Doctor Who vids on there. Also on the socials, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
I'm a YouTuber, ain't I?
I'm a YouTuber.
You know me.
That used to be a cool thing.
It used to be. No, it's still cool, dude. Don't say that.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Come on, it's a great thing.
TikTok now, isn't it? It's all blimmin' TikTok now.
Talking of TikTok, let's do the news. First up, following on the heels of the announcement last week for the new Doctor, we now have an announcement for a new companion that's joining the cast of Russell T Davies's upcoming new return to Doctor Who, I guess you call it. So the Beeb have officially announced this one, so this isn't a rumour that's been doing the work. So they've actually announced it, which is great. So Yasmin Finney is going to be joining the cast of Doctor Who Series 14. She'll be playing the character of Rose. Oh, and is currently filming scenes that are due to air in 2023 to coincide with the show's 60th anniversary. And I've not seen this show. I've heard it's very good, but apparently she's really good in the Netflix series Heartstoppers. I've heard that's a really good show, so I'm going to check that out at some point, but I've not seen it yet myself. But apparently she's very good. She plays the character of Ellie Argent in that. And also, talking to TikTok dude, she's massive on TikTok.
Is she?
Yeah,
it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, she's noted as one of the biggest influencers on that channel. I'm not sure if she's on Insta and Twitter and other things, but she's definitely on TikTok, and she's really open on her social stuff. Those of listeners that don't know, Yasmin is transgender, so a lot of her social media and stuff like that, she's really open about that stuff. And she just wants it to be very inclusive and very open and stuff. So she's really cool with that. So, yeah, I mean, over 12 million views and stuff on her videos and stuff, dude. And she's got nearly 100,000, nearly 300,000, I think, followers by the time this episode goes out. But yeah, and then she gave us a little quote as well, an official thing. She said, "If anyone would have told 8-year-old Yasmin that one day she'd be part of this iconic show, I would never have in a million years believed them. This show has a place in so many people's hearts. So to be seen as a trans actress by the legend himself, Russell, has not only made my year, it's made my life. I cannot wait to begin this journey and for you all to see how Rose blossoms. Get ready." So that sounds very cool. She's up for it. And then Russell follows up with, "Life on Doctor Who gets brighter and wilder. How can there be another Rose? You'll find out in 2023, but it's an absolute joy to welcome Yasmin to the Doctor Who set. We all fell in love with her in Heartstopper, one of those shows which changes the world, and now Yasmin can change the Whoniverse." So what do you reckon, dude? I reckon this is a great announcement. Another good follow-up.
I was thrilled with this because I've just finished watching Heartstopper. I bought the graphic novels about a year ago. So now that everyone's watching it and talking about Heartstopper non-stop, I'm like, I was there a year ago. I'm like, you guys are so behind. But Heartstopper is just such a beautiful program. It's so simplistic, and just in its storytelling, it's just really such a feel-good show. And Yasmin's great in it. I mean, genuinely, like when this was announced, she really sort of stands out. And I thought when she was announced, I was like, yes, that's great casting. Like she's just got something about her that is I just get this really good feeling. I'm really intrigued by the fact she's called Rose. So this sort of leans in towards the parallel universe type theory that we were talking about recently. So we'll see. But yeah, thrilled with this casting. I think Yasmin, she was great in Heartstopper. Obviously, it's the only thing I've ever seen her in, but she was great in that, and I'm just excited to see her in Doctor Who. So yeah, thrilled with this announcement.
Yeah, it's great, dude. Very good one.
Right, sit yourself down for some shock news. I don't want you fainting, but you may or may not have heard that David Tennant and Catherine Tate are back. Wow. Yes, back in full force as well. So the BBC have officially announced this, that they're going to be returning. And the way they've worded it is to help mark the 60th anniversary. So we're not quite sure how they're coming back, what it's going to be. And Russell says, he was quoted, so he says, they're back and it looks impossible. First we announce a new Doctor and then an old Doctor along with the wonderful Donna. What on earth is happening? Maybe this is a missing story or a parallel world or a dream or a trick or a flashback. The only thing I can confirm is that it's going to be spectacular. There's that word again, as two of our greatest stars reunite to battle for the battle of a lifetime. So, I mean, we'd heard these rumours for a while. I think I can speak for both of us, can't I? That we're just thrilled because Ten and Donna are my favourite sort of companion Doctor from the new series. I just think they were brilliant together. I get the feeling this is going to be a different version. I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm thrilled. I just can't wait to see. And I hope it's more than just a flashback. Russell's kind of like, I feel like he's setting our expectations a bit there. Do you? So I'm hoping it's more than a flashback, but
I hope so.
Whatever it is, it's going to be cool.
Yeah, this is amazing, dude. Remember we had all those rumours around David Tennant coming back as the new Doctor, but as an old Doctor. Remember that he was going to be the proper throughout the next 14, series. Yeah. But this is, I think this is better. I think this is a better way to do this, because this is. The Russell does give a little bit of a tease and sets this up quite nicely when he says that, is it a missing story or a dream or a parallel world or something like that. I think this is Russell dipping his toe into the water with some kind of parallel universe stuff, So multiverse stuff. I think that, because the reason why I think that is because if David Tennant came back as just the Doctor and that was it throughout series 14, then he would have had to have really dived into that multiverse stuff right off the bat. And it would have been a real heavy, like, holy crap, we've gone from kind of hinting to that and have that revealed a little bit at the end of series 13, with the whole, when we see Jodie on the ship with her, is it Tecteun? An old Tecteun, is it? No, was it Tecteun? No. Who's the old woman, the grey-haired woman who we thought...
It is Tecteun.
I think so, yeah. And they actually visualised it, didn't they? They had like the two universes that you could see, and they were on that ship in the middle.
Yes.
So we've had that sort of given to us now as a little taster. It's like, yes, there is multiple universes within the world of Doctor Who. Here you are. So Russell's like, okay, cool. Let me run with that. But I think I think Series 13 is going to be the just gently bouncing on the edge of the diving board before he sort of dives off and goes in on the next series. And I think this is great because this gives us a little teaser to get into that multiverse stuff with this. And I think having David Tennant back full time, on one hand, would have been cool because he's a good Doctor. But I don't know. I think it just would have been a step backwards as much as it would have been a step forwards, if that makes sense. So to have a brand new Doctor, brand new companion as the main thing, and then have these guys, however they're integrated into that story, we have no idea because Russell's been a bit of a tease. But he does drop the word spectacular again. He said that
again,
and then there was some tweets going around that the BBC had confirmed that John Sim was back as the Master, but then they were taken down. So that makes me think that he's going to be back as well. It can't be a coincidence that he's used that word twice now in 2 separate interviews about David Tennant and Catherine Tate. Can't be coincidence.
It definitely feeds into that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. It is intriguing. I mean, the fact that so mild spoiler here, listeners. So the filming pics, the Doctor's TARDIS is clearly 13. So you got David Tennant in a very cool, different suit. He's got it's very much like his other suits, but different colours and stuff. And then you've got the 13th Doctor's TARDIS. Does play, it's like, why is he in Jodie's TARDIS? Like, so it does play into this rumor that I don't know, that she might regenerate into him and he'll regenerate into Ncuti. Who knows what's going on in Russell's mind? But I'm very intrigued by all that.
It does sound just
where
bonkers,
does Donna fit into it? Why is Yaz called Rose? There's don't know.
Yeah, it does just sound completely bonkers right now. Like you can't make head or tail of it. So, but that's cool though. That's exactly what we want. We want to have stuff given to us, but we don't want it spelled out. It's like this stuff's happening, but you'll have to tune in to see exactly how it all unfolds. It's perfect. Just keep this happening. Keep this stuff coming. We don't want it to be like, here's an interview with David Tennant and Catherine Tate 2 weeks before the episode goes out. We don't want that. We just want these announcements, and that's what Chibnall didn't do. That's what he didn't frickin' do.
But I'm struggling to not say too much as well, because I'm aware that there'll be people listening to podcasts that won't have seen the filming pics, that won't want the things spoilt that we've seen. So I'm not going to mention any names here, but you've seen them. So I think anybody who's listening will know what I'm talking about, and anyone who doesn't want to know what I'm talking about won't guess. So there has been a lot of other returning characters from that era that we saw in filming, and there was one I was particularly excited to see, who David was pushing in the chair. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yes,
yeah. So I was thrilled. And then there was another couple of people from that era. They're all back. I'm like, wow. Yeah, I can't say too much, because as I said, I'm aware that not everyone wants to know this stuff. So I'll stop there. But yeah.
Exactly, mate. Yeah, that's why we haven't.
How much I'm excited for it.
Yeah, same, dude. Yeah, and that's why we haven't dived into the deets on that, because if you want to go and investigate that stuff, and like Adam said, there are some other people that are back. We're not going to go through that here, but just it's a quick search on Twitter or Google for that stuff, and you'll find it. But yes, it's going to be an amazing time, dude. I
just realised actually the one that I was talking about that has been officially announced by the BBC is coming back. So anyway, I'm not going to go any further, because let's draw a line. I don't want to ruin it for anybody. That's the last thing I want to do. But yeah, I've just realised actually the guy I'm talking about was actually announced, wasn't he?
He was, yeah.
Anyway, let's not, if it's all out there, if you want to see it, go and have a look on Twitter. It's all out there.
Yeah, and we've got loads of time and opportunities to talk about all that stuff in the run up to it next year. So yeah, Absolutely. It's all good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, to round out the news then, let's head over to some merch. We haven't done any merch in ages.
Merch?
Yeah.
Shh, Dalek, don't let Dalek Tat here. He'll be back in a flash now. His favourite Doctor's coming back.
Do you know what? I've not heard from Dalek Tat in ages. No. He's such a miserable git, because when he did bugger off with the hump, he at least said, look, just stay in touch, all right? Just so we know that you're okay. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay in touch. And that lasted for about a month afterwards. And that's it. So it's a shame he's not here to sort of bring this in and just throw it on the ground grumpily and storm out. But
be careful what you wish for. There'll be a little plunger at the door. Gary, can I come back?
Dalek Tat, wherever you are, hope you're doing okay, buddy. You might make an appearance at some point. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, so merch. We've got a new vinyl LP dropping.
Oh, I love a bit of vinyl.
Your favourite bit of merch? Well, it's one of your favourites.
Yeah, one of them, yeah.
Yeah, so talking of David Tennant and the earlier series of Doctor Who, and actually this doesn't get much love for old Eccleston, the artwork for this, because I've got the...
No, it doesn't.
No, I've got this on CD, believe it or not, which sounds really old school for some reason, saying CD.
A CD?
That's a compact disc. What's that about? Not very compact, is it? It's bigger than a bloody coaster. Anyway, Doctor Who, Series 1 and 2. You'd have seen this out and about, so it was really weird how they did the soundtrack releases for this. So they never did like a dedicated Series 1 for just Eccleston series, and they never did a dedicated Series 2, I don't think. The first one that we got that was just a proper release for a unique series was series 3 onwards. And if you wanted to listen to series 1 or 2 music, then it came in kind of this mishmash of music from both series in one release. Which is, so if you listen to the Doctor Who soundtracks on Spotify or Apple Music, something like that, it will just say Doctor Who series, I think it just says series 1 and 2. So it doesn't have the full, I'm 99% sure this is not the full listing of like the full music that Murray came up with. It's like a handful of tracks. It's like 12 tracks from the first and 11 or 12 from the second. You know, as I said, they're mashed together. However, this was out years ago, and I remember picking this up on vinyl as well. I've got it down here. I'm looking at it now.
Have you?
I've got it on vinyl, but it's the standard edition. It's just the black press, black one. Anyways, for some reason, who knows why, they're re-releasing it with the bright orange vinyl, which looks bloody brilliant because it now matches the Doctor Who logo on the front.
Are you going to double dip? Are you going to get it again?
No, I'm not going to. No.
See, I haven't got the original, so I'll probably get this.
Oh, you should get it. Yeah, you get it then, dude.
I haven't got. I can't. Don't know why. You'd think I'd have it, wouldn't you? But I haven't got the original.
Yeah, I remember retelling this story on this show about 4 years ago, I think. Speaking to somebody at Silver Screen, and I was like, "Look, I'm not being funny." But I need this release, all right? I'm not paying like 4 times the amount on eBay. Please tell me you've got some in stock left. And the very kind woman there, I can't remember her name now, bless her. And she was like, we don't officially have any in stock, but we do have a copy here that we have in the office. Oh. She was like, so I can send you that if you want. I can sell you that. I'm like, bingo, do it. Even if you put like an extra tenner on the price, I'll have it. So that was lovely. So it turned up and it wasn't in the cellophane wrap that you normally get vinyls in, but I didn't care. It was very cool because
you just wanted it.
Yeah, because I think the music on this was just like Murray's first go round, if you like, with this stuff. It's just got such a charm to it and this magical feel. And so anyway, dude, the double edition LP is back, and it's got stuff from all the way from the Doctor Who theme, what we heard from Eccleston, all the way through to the closing theme, which I think was Tennant's one. And we also get those 2 independent songs, so Song for 10 by Neil Hannon.
Oh, yeah.
And the other one that he did as well, Love Don't Roam, which is both interesting songs there. But yeah, some great stuff, and it's a bright orange one, so something different. If you want to pre-order this, it's not up on Amazon or Silver Screen just yet, but it probably will go up in the next day or 2. After you listen to this, but you can get it from thesoundofvinyl.com and recordstore.co.uk here in the UK, and it's priced at £31 at the moment.
Not too bad for a double vinyl.
Yeah. What about you?
I'd definitely like to get this. I do own the CD of it, which I played a lot when I bought this, because there's a lot of music on there I love, like the Doctor's theme, that beautiful choral theme that the Doctor had, when he stands in front of the big fan, and Father's Day, I remember playing that loads. Rose's theme, Song for 10, as you said. It's weird though, I slightly prefer the version that's in the TV show, even though I like Neil Hannon from Divine Comedy. But there's some great stuff. The Face of Bow theme, there's a lot of tracks on here, that Madame de Pompadour, a lot of beautiful music on the first soundtrack. And it never occurred to me before that Eccleston's not on the cover, actually. You should have them both on there, really, because it's quite a simplistic cover. I almost wish they'd sort of redone the cover so it was a little bit different to the one that you've got. But either way, yeah, it's a nice re-release. But it does make me beg the question, could you get back on the phone to Silver Screen and ask that lovely lady, where is soundtrack to Series 10? That's what we want. Yeah, what has happened to That's Murray's fault, isn't it? I remember Murray tweeting that he was sort of doing a bit of work on it, but he obviously never finished it. I know he's a busy chap, but I would still buy it. If Series 10 came out tomorrow, I would buy the soundtrack for that in a heartbeat. Yeah,
I think we all would, mate. Yeah.
We need it, don't we? We need it, because we jumped straight to the soundtrack to Series 11, didn't we? So, I hate having that gap, jumping from Series 9 to 11. But also, there was some beautiful music in Series 10, like Bill's theme and everything. There's some really nice stuff that we could have. So, yeah. So this is great. And if they could just get Series 10 soundtrack out, I think we'd all be very happy.
We would, definitely, yeah. So, I'm not sure on the availability. various other outlets. So over at thesoundofvinyl.com, as we're recording this on Thursday the 19th, it says that there are 13 left on there. Over at recordstore.co.uk, it doesn't say how many are left. It just says it says 13 left on there as well.
Oh, right.
And that's up for pre-order. So this lands on the 27th of May is when you'll be getting it if you pre-order it. So next Friday.
Oh, it's quite soon then.
Next Friday, yes. So yeah, so get on it if you've not bagged this on vinyl before, or you've not got the CD. Now's the perfect time. And it's got some cracking music like Rose's theme, The Clockwork TARDIS, Boomtown Suite, Seeking the Doctor, Madame de Pompadour, as you said, The Lone Daleks, very cool, Doomsday, The Impossible Planet, all that stuff's very good. Oh, it's so good. I'll listen to this later while I'm doing some work.
Just going through, you can actually hear the songs in your head, can't you? It's great.
So yeah, go and back that. So we'll stick a link as well. We'll post out on Twitter when we get the word from Silver Screen, because you can order direct from those guys. They have their own little mini portal on their website, which is doctorwhomusic.com. And that's where they list all of their Doctor Who soundtracks and stuff. So most of it's all sold out now, but as soon as it lands on there, we'll let you know. So you can go and pick it up. And before we get on with our review, talking of next week, just a quick heads up, there will be no episode from us next week. Because it's my fault, because I'm busy. I'm out with work at a show in London next week, so I won't have time to record and everything, unfortunately, because I'm staying over and it will just be busy. So no episode next week. We'll be back the week after, week commencing the 30th of May. So, dude, let's smash into the review. What we got?
Yes, it's a big story this week, and it feels kind of appropriate with everything going on. We are reviewing the 50th anniversary story, Day of the Doctor.
I've been running all my life through time and space. Every second of every minute of every day for over 900 years. I fought for peace in a universe at war. Now the time has come to face the choices I've made in the name of the Doctor. Our future depends on one single moment of one impossible day. The day I've been running from all my life. The day of the Doctor.
Now there's a theme. God, that's so a good theme, that.
Very cool indeed. Right, the Day of the Doctor was first broadcast. You all should know this date. A little trivia here. It was the 50th anniversary. You should know the date. 23rd of November, 2013. This went out. It was just over an hour, 77 minutes, all in all, apparently. And it was written by Stephen Moffbag, directed by Nick Horan, and stars Matt Smith as the Doctor, David Tennant as the Doctor, John Hurt as the War Doctor, and Jenna Coleman is Clara. Billy Piper's back as Rose Tyler / The Moment, and a bunch of other people, which we'll get onto. And the synopsis is: the Doctors embark on their greatest adventure in this 50th anniversary special. In the 21st century, something terrible is awakening in London's National Gallery. In 1562, a murderous plot is afoot in Elizabethan England, and somewhere in space, an ancient battle reaches its devastating conclusion. All of reality is at stake as the Doctor's own dangerous past comes back to haunt him. That's a good one. Right, dude. The story that everybody thinks that we've reviewed already. What did you think?
Including ourselves.
Yeah.
we're like, we're sure we haven't done that one. I just quickly before I talk about it, I'm just wondering though, can you remember well, I'm sure you can. Where were you when this aired? Like, I know where I was. Where were you?
So when this went out, dude, I think...
I thought you'd be able to remember like that.
Yeah, well, I think I watched it the following day.
Oh, right.
If memory serves, yeah. I think there was something I had to watch it the following day. Were you like with a group of other Who fans and mates, were you?
I was in, I was at the Excel for the 50th celebrations, whatever that was called, and probably called the 50th celebrations. So I was at Doctor Who convention, But I was staying at a hotel because my ticket was for the day after. So I think it was a 2 or 3 day event. So they had organised a screening in like the pub next to the XL, and we went there. It was obviously full of Doctor Who fans. They'd put up all these posters around the walls. Somebody had brought their fan-made First Doctor console, full size. So there was a full-size First Doctor console in the middle of the pub.
Nice.
I've got a picture with it somewhere. But then we went, when it was about to start, we all they'd put out a little projector or a big TV, I can't remember. And then we all sat down to watch it. But for whatever reason, and I think it was because the sound was low or I couldn't really see the screen very well because of the amount of people, we decided to go back to our hotel room and watch it. I think I just wanted to do that thing of, this is great, but I just want to shut myself away so I can watch it by myself properly with a bottle of wine. So that's what we did. So we went back to the hotel and watched it. And my thoughts then were that I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't what I was expecting, or it wasn't what I wanted for the 50th. So I remember at the time thinking, okay, I really enjoyed that. There was lots of nice moments and surprises along the way, like when the curator comes out, and it was great, but I felt a little bit underwhelmed by it because I think in my head, I just wanted another 5 Doctors. I wanted all the classic Doctors back. I wanted lots of returning monsters. And so because we didn't get that, at the time, I liked it, but I didn't love it. I was like, well, yeah, it's good, but did it celebrate 50 years of Doctor Who? Well, I'm not sure it did. So that feeling's kind of stayed with me a little bit over the years, but watching it again last night, I think I'm slowly beginning to appreciate it for what it is rather than what I want it to be. So I really enjoyed watching this yesterday, and I thought it was a really fun story. There are so many great moments in it. John Hurt is just brilliant in it, I have to say. Matt and David work so well together. I mean, they really do. The chemistry between them. And I love it when they get locked in the cell with the War Doctor. The 3 of them together are brilliant. I think the moment, Rose Tyler as the moment, is a beautiful idea. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this. And I got to the end of it, and although I don't think it's perfect, I think it's more of a celebration of like the modern era of Doctor Who, but I think that's fine because I have to sort of say to myself, well, you've got the 5 Doctors. You don't need another 50th anniversary 5 Doctors. You've got the 5 Doctors to watch of all the classic. This is a celebration of modern Doctor Who, but it does have lovely throwbacks to the classic era as well. There are lots of nice little sort of little nuggets in there referring to, the classic series. And obviously we get to see all the classic Doctors at the end in that wonderful moment, when they say all 13, and then there's the bit where Matt stands for them all at the end. So I've really grown to, I liked it to begin with, and I've really grown to appreciate it over the years, and I've really enjoyed watching it yesterday. So not perfect, but really good, really, really good, and a good celebration of the show, I think.
Nice, man. So you're a big fan of this one?
Yes, I like it. I do like it, yeah.
Oh, good. I love this one, dude. Same as you. Yeah, I love this one. I think it's not just because it's the 50th and it's a bit of a multi-Doctor special and stuff. I think the story is just really strong. It's got a really, really good timey-wimey feel that Moff is he's very sort of famous for, sometimes just overcooking it a little bit with the timey-wimey stuff. So this is right up his alley, the whole across different timelines and stuff. And when the time portal opens and the Fez gets thrown through, and even at the beginning, when they go to the gallery and the Doctor and Kate Stewart, they walk off, they see the painting that's in 3D, but then they walk off. She's like, no, that's just to show that this is legit, follow me, the actual thing's through here. And then that guy's phone rings and he's like, but that's impossible. And then it just cuts off and you think, what was that about? And then we obviously circle back later in the story and it's him moving the painting down into the archive so that they can come through the painting, that sort of thing, the cup of soup little funny thing. And so it's, and then you've got the time portal, and then you've got Rose back, but she's not Rose, and you think, what's going on? And then, so it's all got like on the surface at least, it sounds very convoluted, but when you actually watch it, it's one of the easiest timey-wimey stories to watch. So the story is really strong, and it's the performances are very good, and it I don't know, it just hits so many beats really nicely, as you go through it, and it builds up when it needs to, and then it's got quieter moments when it needs it, like that lovely conversation between John Hurt's Doctor and Clara. And he sort of comes to the realization then, like, okay, this has gone long enough. And you can see the moment there as Rose. And he's like, right, I'm ready. And then she takes him back. And then there's that beautiful moment where all three of them, he's like, this is the day that you won't have to do this alone. But then Clara sort of nudges the Doctor into that moment of, actually, there probably is something we could do. Now the three of us are here together, we can crack this and come up with a solution rather than just killing everybody. So, yeah, it just hits everything. The only negative I've got, and I'll get it out the way early, the only negative I've got, and you mentioned that it's got some lovely throwbacks to classic Who, and at the end we have all the Doctors zipping around in their TARDIS and those little clips, and it's all lovely. I've always said this, I do feel like it didn't, and it doesn't still, it doesn't include enough from the classic era to make it a celebration of 50 years of Doctor Who. Now, I completely understand and get what the Moff said at the time. He said, look, this is not about just dragging up old actors and having, a bit of a nostalgic thing. This is about the future of Doctor Who as much as it is about a celebration of the past. So I get that, and I 100% get that. But there is a part of me that thinks, this is 50 years. And even back then, the actors that are, touch wood, still with us today, a couple of them are still quite old. And it's a little bit of an irk to me that Tom Baker is in it at the end, when the other Doctors who are alive and kicking still didn't get a part in it. So I get it, because Tom's Doctor is often viewed as the most popular and loved Doctor from the classic years. I understand that. But at the same time, there's a bit of me that thinks, well, actually, I'm pretty sure that McCoy, McGann, Davison, they would have all loved a few scenes in this. Yeah. So I know McGann did that little webisode thing.
Night of the Doctor.
Night of the Doctor. Yeah, I know we got that, which is all good. So I'm not naive to the fact that there was a little bit of that with McGann, but that's the only negative I've got, really. I would have loved to have them to a bit more inclusive of the classic stuff.
It's a valid one, and it's one that I 100% agree with, actually, because Moffat is clever. He's so clever at writing stuff like that I feel like he could have written them in somehow. Like, I'm thinking of Time Crash, when, the 10th Doctor meets the 5th Doctor, and Moffat explains the difference in his look in like one sentence. Moffat's very good at that. He's like, talks about the glasses. I don't really need them. I just wear them because I want to. And all. So I think he could have easily got round it. And I think the thing with, although I love the War Doctor, and I think John Hurt's brilliant in it, and actually watching this again last night just made me think, actually, I love this idea of, this sort of Doctor that the other Doctors are so ashamed of that they just don't talk about him, but in the end they have to help him, is a beautiful idea. But I think that only really came about because Moffat was, well, and I think me and you were there, weren't we, when we went to see an audience with Moffat where he was talking to Frank Skinner. I think I was there. Yeah, me and you were there. Yep. And Moffat talked about this, didn't he? He said, when it came to writing the 50th, he was really nervous because he didn't have a lot to go on at that point. He didn't even have anyone contracted. He's like, I didn't even have Matt Smith under contract for the 50th, and I kind of had to, gather together what I could really quickly. And I think Paul McGann, and this is the thing that slightly irks me, is I think the Paul McGann minisode, which was so good, was a bit of an afterthought. I think Moffat said he was like I sort of thought, oh, we should have Paul do something. To me, and I think I felt this at the time, which is why I was slightly underwhelmed. To me, Paul McGann, the 8th Doctor, should have been in this. Yeah. Yep. I think that would have made it something. It would have just upped it a little bit. It would have been brilliant. And I don't think it would have been overcrowded, because I think Moffat is a capable writer. I think he could have balanced it, because you look at, the War Doctor and 10 and 11, they're three very big personalities, and and they all blend really well together. Like, nobody outshines anyone. Tennant's great in his scenes. Matt is superb in his scenes, and John Hurt's great in his. And when they're together, it just works. There's no it doesn't feel like anybody's sort of being lost in the mix. So I think McGann should have been in it. Eccleston, and again, I think at the talk we went to, Moffat said they had a brief meeting, and what sticks in my mind was, I think Moffat said that he felt like Eccleston just met him out of courtesy. He doesn't think Eccleston ever really had any intention or didn't really want to do it at all. So he said they sort of met him, looked at a few pages of script, and Eccleston said, "No, I'm out. I don't really want to do it." And that was the end of that. It would have been great, wouldn't it, to have him in it? And I think that would have been awesome to have 9, 10 and 11. But it doesn't bother me as much as it does as McGann. I think because McGann would have represented that slightly more throwback to the classic series if we'd had him in it. And he was just so good in that 7-minute minisode that it just was like, oh, wow, I want to see more of that. This Doctor is so good. So, yeah, I totally get what you're saying. I think it's a valid point that it would have been nice, and I think it would have been possible to have included a little bit more of the classic era in some form or other. They didn't need to come back as a major part of the story, but I think it would have been nice to have included them. But then we wouldn't have got the 5-ish Doctors, which was so good. One of the best things ever to come out of Doctor Who. The 5-ish Doctors, it's just brilliant. I watched it fairly recently, actually, with some friends, and it's so funny. And the thing is, I think there's a slight truth to it about being slightly miffed they're not in it. It's very tongue-in-cheek, isn't it?
It is a bit. It's funny as hell, though. Yeah.
But I think even Davison, because we know Davison and Tom don't particularly... I think not that they don't like each other, but there is a bit of friction with Tom and Peter over the years. And I think it probably did irk Peter and Colin Baker a little, and probably Sylv, that that Tom was in it, because I think I've heard them say in interviews, or I've read somewhere, I don't know, that they were a bit miffed when Tom popped up on the screen, because they didn't know he was going to be in it, or they just felt like, okay, he's in it, but we're not. There must have been a little bit of them was a bit thing about that.
I think so.
And I can understand it, as much as I love the curator scene, and I think it was great. And it was definitely the moment when I was watching it back in 2013 where I went, because the voice, you hear the voice before you see him, and you instantly know it's Tom. That voice is just so recognisable. So it's a great wow moment when he walks on screen as the creator, and you're like, wow. And you kind of have those hexagonal things behind him that look like a TARDIS wall, and it's like, what's going on here? I love that.
No, it's an
I
amazing
can understand
scene.
the others being miffed. Yeah,
it's a great scene. Not to take anything away from Tom or anything, it's such a great scene, and it does melt your mind a little bit as well, because you think, so what happens then? So is this like an alternative time stream thing that we're seeing here? Because we've just had it explained to us very clearly that these 3 Doctors can't exist across their own time stream, and when they go back into their own times, everything that they've just done is going to be forgotten, and they're just going to be reset back to their former selves. But yet we have this guy who's clearly is the Doctor. He is the Doctor from the Doctor's past, but yet he's existing completely fine, and he has his memory. So what does that mean? What I don't understand. I mean, it's great, don't get me wrong, but I just don't. What's the intention there with it? Is it like, I don't know. I just don't know what the continuity is with that.
You talking about that scene's reminded me of when John Hurt goes into his TARDIS at the end as well, when he just starts to regenerate, but we don't quite see Eccleston, and that always frustrated me, because they said at the Doctor Who festival, I think it was, on stage, that they did actually film more of that, where you saw more of Eccleston's face, but they decided to cut it. And I always feel like, oh, that's a shame, because I feel like he should have been in it somewhere. He was the Doctor when the show came back in 2005. He was instrumental in making Doctor Who a success again. And I feel like it just should have showed a bit more of his face, so that you could clearly see that here's 9 coming in now.
Yeah.
but they cut it too soon, and I don't know why they decided to do that. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but
it's
it frustrates me every time I'm watching it because you just see it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it cleverly lets your brain fill in the gap afterwards. It's like, okay, he's going to obviously regenerate into Eccleston, but even that in itself was kind of weird to me. It wasn't bad. It's not a negative. It was just weird to me because the War Doctor at that point hadn't suffered any kind of injury, hadn't suffered any kind of...
Yeah, that's true. It just happened.
Do you know what I mean? There was nothing that... Life wasn't in danger at that point anyway. They'd already gone through the whole battle with that small sort of skirmish with some of the Daleks earlier on in the story. And now it was just a case of coming up with a bigger plan to save Gallifrey, which is amazing in itself. Moffat nailed it. That's such a great concept of removing Gallifrey out of time just by a split second, an instant, and, you know, plopping it in its own little universe. So the Daleks would then fire on each other and wipe each other out, essentially. That's amazing. But they weren't involved directly in that gunfire or laser fire, whatever that was. So I found that weird that just all of a sudden the regeneration just happened. And the Doctor seemed surprised as well. He's like, oh, okay. But then he says, well, it makes sense, I suppose. So do we think that maybe it's just old age? Maybe there's like because he is quite old, John Hurt, in this, isn't he? He's like, you know, he's up there with one of the older age ranges as a Doctor, even in the classic years when... How old was Hartnell when he left? He was quite old, wasn't he? But, so he's maybe... I don't know. Maybe it's just old age. But that was weird to me that he just regenerated just because, you know.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I just put it down to he's knackered after all the time war. His body's just had enough. It is a little bit convenient. It doesn't really bother me, though, because I do love the fact that we sort of slightly get to see him regenerate into Eccleston. And I think you're right. Your mind, you almost trick yourself that you do see Eccleston, and maybe you do for like half a second. I don't know, but also, how good is the War Doctor's interior? It's a little, you know, the round things. The roundels are back. It looks great. I love it. I love his TARDIS inside and out. It looks brilliant. But yeah, I think watching this again yesterday, appreciated the War Doctor more. I think I wasn't overly fond of the character to begin with. Again, maybe because in the back of my mind, watching this in 2013, I just wanted McGann or Eccleston, and I felt like the War Doctor was kind of this sort of plot device thrown in to cover for the fact they weren't there. But I really liked him yesterday watching this. You know, I love the stuff when they're in the cell together, and he's like, why are you so ashamed? Well, what's with all this? Why are you so determined to be young all the time? Why can't you accept you're getting older, and all this, you know, the sort of pep talk that he has with his other selves? And he's when he says about, did you count the children? Did you count how many children? Matt, oh man, Matt is so good. Mm-hmm. You know, this is the thing. It's Tennant being such a popular Doctor and being such a great Doctor could have totally overshadowed Matt in this. Matt totally holds his own. Mm-hmm. You know, he's so good in it. That bit where Matt finally sort of, he's scratching the wall and he starts to lose his rag because he's like, I've absolutely no idea how many, but obviously he does. You can see that he's, beginning to snap. And then Eccleston says, the number. It's just the three of them together, just so good. And then the thing with the door as well. That was such a good build-up. We've had 400 years to work it out. What is it? Same software, different case. Mm-hmm. Brilliant. And then, not Rose, Clara just walks in and she's like, well, the door was open. What? It's so funny. And this is the thing, right? Moffat, we've bashed him now and again for certain things. He's bashed himself for certain things he didn't get right. But one thing I will say is I love Moffat. I think he was a really good writer. And you just said about the moment in time resolution for Gallifrey. Moffat was so good at that type of stuff. He's brimming with ideas, Moffat. And I think if anything, his biggest sort of downfall really is that he almost had too many. And he almost tries to throw in too much sometimes. But I'd rather that than no ideas at all. And I think Moffat, a bit like this episode, just really have grown to appreciate him so much more since we've revisited his stuff. His writing is really good and so funny. Like, how much fun is there in this episode? It is just fun pretty much from beginning to end. You know, so many great scenes. The bit with the 10th Doctor and the rabbit, you know. I'm the Doctor from Casturvis, and all this, he's doing the big speech. He's like, and you're just a rabbit, aren't you? You know, there's so many fun moments in this, and so many poignant moments as well.
Yes, there is. Yeah, and it does roll along really nicely as well. It doesn't take itself too seriously most of the time, which is a good thing. And it has got, you mentioned that scene when the three of them are in the prison cell with the door open.
Yeah.
And you're right, Matt does hold his own. He does absolutely just crash through the story with that same amount of energy and buzz and stuff that we've seen all through his era. And it's weird, isn't it? Because at this point, did we have Capaldi announced by this point? We did, right?
We did, yeah. He'd been announced, but yeah.
It just wasn't... We were just waiting for Matt Smith regen story at this point.
That's it.
For Capaldi, right? Oh, yeah, because we had the cheesy live show with Capaldi coming out. And
yeah,
that was before this, wasn't it? Yeah,
so... holding, yeah.
So the fact that Matt Smith knew at this point that his time was coming to an end, it must have been a real mix of emotions for everybody, because you had David Tennant had already gone through all that, but was now back, and, you know, this was just a solo gig for him at the time. And then you've still got Matt, who's carrying the torch at this point. So he's coming up to the end of his era. And then you have John Hurt, who's never been in the show before, brand new creation out of Moff's mind. So you've got these three guys who are trying to play the Doctor, but coming at it from very different angles. And the thing that's great about Matt Smith is that the consistency never breaks. Like, all the times, every episode that he's been in up to this point, from when he started at the 11th hour, there isn't this point where he kind of breaks character just to appreciate he's in this sort of epic story. He's still just the Doctor throughout it all, which is amazing. And Tennant, like you said, he's great as well. Although he is playing a slightly different Doctor, I feel, than when he was in it before. And I think that's something to do with him just being like one of the old guard that's now back. So maybe, you know, it's a bit like when you're at school and you feel like you have this little bit of expectation and constantly on your shoulders and a little bit of pressure, especially in the last few years that you're at school. And then for whatever reason, you come back to school after that. All of that's just gone. And it's just like, oh, it's just a building, you know, and it's just a whatever. Maybe that's because he's more relaxed and chilled with that. He knows that the weight of the story is not on his shoulders solely. He's just back to enhance the story and make it what it is, his multi-Doctor story. So he is playing the Doctor. Maybe it's the hair. I don't know. He doesn't have the big spiky hair in this, does he?
But, could be.
Yeah. But there is one scene where they both fanboy. You can see it. And it's not the Doctors. It's Matt Smith and David Tennant fanboying when they're in the, you know, the TARDIS is glitching because the three of them are in there. And we go to the War Doctor's console, and Matt says, "Oh, the round things. I love the round things." And Tennant's like, "Oh, I love the round things." That's such a fanboy moment, isn't it? That's the only time in the whole in the whole story for me where it's just two guys who love Doctor Who are actually saying the words, not the characters. But other than that, Matt Smith just is great in it. He's just so good. He's such a good Doctor. And he was spoilt a little bit, right, wasn't he? He was spoilt a little bit because take away some of the clangers that we had in Series 6, you know, and some of that stuff that was going on, especially Series 7. Take away some of the clangers that Moff introduced. He had a really good run as a great Doctor. Then he was in this story. And then he made a little appearance, didn't he, in An Adventure in Space and Time with David Bradley. Remember, he was in the end of that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, so imagine if he's back for the 60th, dude. Surely he'll go down as one of the most popular Doctors of the modern era. He has to be.
Well, he's definitely my favourite since the show came back. I just think he nails the comedy, and he manages to do that flip to serious in a heartbeat, which I think, you know, is part of the Doctor's character. You know, the example of that for me would be when they're about to push the red button and Matt glances sideways at Clara and he's like, what is it? You know, he's so good at just switching and being serious. He really he really delivers a dramatic moment, Matt, you know, when he needs to. And when he needs to do fun, I think he's great. So, yeah, I hope Matt's back for the 60th. I think I'd be even more excited than Tennant, because he is my favourite Doctor from the new era. I just think he has everything I want in the character of the Doctor, and his performance is brilliant. And when you watch him in the behind the scenes, you know, documentary that's on the Blu-ray, he just talks about his enthusiasm for the show just pours out of him. He's like, this is not about me. This is not about, you know, anything other than the show. He's like, the show is the thing. And it just takes it so seriously in terms of getting it right, and his passion for the part of the Doctor that, you know, and let's not forget, he was a fairly young guy when he took on the role, wasn't he? Was he? I don't know. How old was he?
He was, yeah.
He was 20 something.
Yeah, he was in his 20s, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just to see the commitment and enthusiasm from him in the behind the scenes, especially when he's sat next to David. There's a bit where they're just sat in their director's chairs on the set talking to the camera. Two of them are just like, you know, you'd think they would have been like mates for years. They just seem to get on so well, bounce off each other so well, that it's no surprise that the chemistry's there on screen as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, defo. They're all good in it, to be fair. They're all good.
Yes.
So Tennant, like I said, he's slightly different. I can't put my finger on it, but he's slightly different than when he was in the show before, which I guess is to be expected a little bit. And Matt Smith is amazing, as always. And John Hurt was pretty good, you know, most of the way through. He played the kind of beaten up old war-torn Doctor that was just fed up with it, basically, just had enough. You know, you could tell that he's gone through so long fighting in the Time War that it's got to the point where he's like, enough is enough. Like, if I don't do something now, then we're done for. You know, it will just be a Dalek victory, and that'll be it. So for listeners who have not seen, if you've not seen this story, weirdly, it's all about the Great Time War, which has been referenced many times throughout Doctor Who, and the culmination of that is the Daleks are essentially on the cusp of a victory. They're like throwing everything at Gallifrey now, and they've taken the main place, Arcadia, the main city, and that's what I think. That painting that we now know is called Gallifrey Falls No More. That depicts the fall of Arcadia, the big glass dome that encases that city and so on. It's all been destroyed and stuff. And so, before this, it was known that the Doctor had sacrificed Gallifrey by blowing it up, basically, and taking out all of the Time Lords and the Daleks in one go, thus ending the Time War, but saving all the other life in the universe, in the galaxy. Because if there's no Daleks, they can't take over. Once they've taken over Gallifrey, if there's no Time Lords, that's a sacrifice he had to make. It all came down to this big moral dilemma that the Doctor was beating himself up over. And it was this War Doctor character that was responsible for that decision, and that's why the Doctor decided to bury that previous self away and not even think about it, and so on. So that's for anyone that's not seen it, that's sort of the crux of the thing. So John Hurt plays that very well. He plays that sort of, like you said, just knackered. He's just had enough of, like, you know, constantly fighting the Daleks, constantly getting his ass kicked, because you can tell that the High Council don't like him.
No, he's like become a nuisance. Like him again.
Yeah, he's a bit of a, although he's kind of fighting the good fight in a way, he's doing it in a way that he's a bit of a lone wolf. He's kind of doing things the Doctor's way that irritates the High Council, because the few scenes that we see those guys in, they're in when you see the location text, it says the War Room, Gallifrey, and you can tell that they're trying to put their pieces together strategically. They want to fight the Daleks as like a proper old school, or they feel they have to fight it as an old school battle where you move your troops here, you move them there, you move resources there, whereas the Doctor's just zipping around in his TARDIS doing his thing, bit of a lone wolf. So I did really like John Hurt in this, dude. I think he played that old, battered, can't be bothered anymore, down on his luck, I just want to end it. So you can, when you say it like that, there's no wonder he regenerated, really.
Yeah, I guess there's a lovely scene when he's sat talking to Clara, isn't there? You know, that beautiful scene where he's just sort of chatting things through with her, and you can tell he's just like reached the point where he's just had enough, right? I mean, he shoots no more into the wall, which is a great scene. Talking of the Time War, mate, how good does the Time War look on screen? Like, my God, this is like now nearly 10 years old, and it looks like a film. Like, they must have really pumped some money into this, because the explosions and Daleks flying across the screen getting obliterated, and the TARDIS smashing through the wall into Daleks, and all the sort of flakes of dust and ruined buildings that we see. I mean, although the Time War's not on screen that much, when it is, the ships flying through the air with the lasers, it really looked good. I mean, it really stood up well in terms of the effects, and yeah, you can tell that the BBC were behind this. I can't remember. Do you remember it got like the biggest worldwide audience ever or so? It was huge, wasn't it, around the world? It got massive viewing figures around the world. So I think the BBC pumped some money into it, and didn't you think the Time War just looked amazing on screen?
Mate, it looked amazing all the time. Yeah. The first time that I have you seen this in 3D, by the way?
Yes, I did watch it in 3D. A while back, a long time ago. I've watched it once in 3D. Yeah, not at the cinema, just on my telly.
Yeah, I watched it in 3D once as well, because I think it just came as part of the Blu-ray thing that I bought. It was the 3D, but it had the 2D version as well. But those scenes, and the first time I noticed it looked amazing is when they go and look at that painting in the London Gallery. Yeah. And Clara walks towards it, and she tries to put her hand on it, and the camera rotates. And then I thought, wow, it's a simple effect, but it looks absolutely amazing. And then they did like a combination of two different styles. Who was who were they working with the VFX? Was it still Milk? Was it Milk?
The Mill?
Milk VFX, yeah. So these dudes nailed these two things. So you had like the typical like computer generated stuff, like Dalek ships whizzing around, the laser bolts out of the ships and all that stuff. But they did this kind of secondary effect where, you mentioned the trailer where you had these doctors in poses that were snapshots.
Yeah.
And the camera sort of rotated around them in 3D, and then you had all these particle effects and stuff like that. They did something similar in the episode where they, like when the three doctors are on Gallifrey, just before they blast through the painting to stop the countdown, it does a similar thing there where it's like this almost, it's like an oil painting effect, like a brush stroke effect on them. And then the camera rotates around them in 3D and stuff. They did that a few times on that throughout the Time Wars scenes, and it holds up today, 100%. It looks really, they did such a great job on it. And I think, do you know what, dude? I think this is the kind of thing that recent Doctor Who wants to do. But it just, remember in most of the episodes that we reviewed in Jodie's era, and we've said, the cinematography itself and the quality of the camera and the lenses, it looks amazing, it looks great, but some of the effects are just shockingly bad. Even like in the most recent one that we watched, what was that one called? What's the most recent
Devil one?
Sea Devil. No, sorry, the one before that. The one before that, where they're hanging off those floating things at the beginning over the lava.
The beginning
stream.
of Flux. Yeah,
that kind of stuff. We went from like really good visual effects to terrible looking visual effects. And the same, with Legend of Sea Devils. In this one, I don't know what it was. Maybe you're right. Maybe they just had a massive budget for it. Who knows? But consistently, pretty much every shot just looks bang on. Like there's never a point in this where I thought, oh, that looks a bit shit. That looks a bit shaky.
Ropey, yeah.
There's
normally one scene, isn't there? Yeah.
I never thought that. I never thought, oh, that's a bit shaky. That looks a bit ropey, that bit. Oh, God, that's cringe. You can tell this was filmed and done like however many years ago. It didn't. None of it. The whole thing just looks clean and crisp and just bang on, dude. I love the visual effects in this. Brilliant.
I noticed as well, everybody seems to be on top form in this, I think, from the writing to the performance to the effects people to everybody involved behind the scenes. Everybody's firing on all cylinders. Murray as well. Murray's music's absolutely banging in this. It's just so good. But yeah, the effects as well, like when they're in the forest and there's this sort of glistening effect put on the trees as well. Just everything just looks so good. The locations as well, Trafalgar Square and the castle they're in. For a second, I wondered if that was the same castle that they used for the Eye of Orion in the Five Doctors. I've never noticed that before. There's like this archway. I don't know if it is. It's probably not, but
I think so.
Everything just looks so good. Yeah, I think they're totally all firing on all cylinders with this. Yeah. It's a beautiful looking episode.
However, one teeny thing, and I don't think there's any way around it. I think they did the best they could, mate. There's no way around it. At the very end, when Matt Smith walks onto the little cloud and you've got like the V shape of all the Doctors lined up.
Yeah. Did
you see Tom's the whatever they use for Tom Baker's image? There's a few photos doing the round from the Five Doctors. And it's like a behind-the-scenes shot, and you've got them lined up.
Oh, the Madame Tussauds dummy?
Yeah. You remember that image? It's doing the rounds. And you look at it and think, well, that's clearly not Tom Baker. I think they've used the same thing.
Oh, no. Have they? I didn't notice that, I'll be honest. I didn't notice that, no.
And also, Paul McGann. Now, this is weird. Paul McGann, it looks like a real soft, like a soft focus, fuzzy... like a bad Photoshop cut out of him. So that's the only thing.
I will have to freeze frame it next time because it's a lot shorter than I remembered that scene. I think I was just wound up in the emotion of it. Next time I watch it, I will freeze frame it and have a good old look at them, because I noticed in the making of that they're real people with these funny... They got like these funny dots on their face. So they've obviously got real people. They're all in full costume as well to stand there. And then they've obviously superimposed a picture of the real Doctors on their faces. But it's weird because when you see that scene, they're so static, you wouldn't know they were real people. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'll freeze frame it next time because I didn't notice that.
Yeah, they could have definitely used a much better image of Tom Baker, because there's hundreds, thousands of minutes of footage that you could have freeze framed and cleverly plucked his image out and superimposed it and so on. So they use this really bizarre, like, I don't know, mate. You'll have to go back and watch it, but it looks just like the dummy that they used in that photo behind the scenes of the Five Doctors. It's nothing like him, but
maybe it was a subtle callback to it, but I didn't notice that. I will look out for it next time.
Yeah. Other than that, mate, it's kind of faultless, I think, in terms of production, and not just visual effects but practical effects as well. Like some of the scenes when they're on the streets around Gallifrey and the war's going on and his family's sort of scrambling for cover and stuff like that, and there's explosions going off and all sorts. It looks really good. Yeah. And
the start of it as well. I love the fact it starts with the original title sequence and music and fades from black and white, that sign of Totter's Lane.
Oh, yeah.
The sign. That's a nice intro, that. Slightly bizarre that Clara's suddenly a teacher, and because that's the only thing as well. There is a slight disconnect from where we left the last episode. Was that night? No, I get confused. What was the name of the Doctor? Was it where she jumps into the time stream and it introduces the War Doctor? That was the episode before this. Yeah. So it does slightly irk me that we jump from that to suddenly, like, how did they get out? Like, suddenly they would. I mean, we don't know what the gap is between that story and this, but how did they get out of the time stream, and what happened after the War Doctor turned around? Did they sit and have a chat, or I don't know. It's just a given that the Doctor knew, I suppose, how to get out of his own time stream, but there's no explanation for that at all. We just sort of kind of start. I mean, in a way, I'm glad, because you can't, for the 50, if you don't want to have any baggage from the last episode, you need to start with a fresh slate, which is kind of what they do with the Coal Hill School thing and Clara, and that gorgeous shot of her driving the bike into the TARDIS, which looks amazing.
Oh, dude, that was seamless.
I know, it's brilliant. How did they do? So I'm guessing it's green screen, but it looks fantastic.
Yeah. Again, listen, if you've not seen it, there's a scene where Clara's bombing it down this country road on a motorbike, and she's not slowing down at all, and she's getting faster, and she's approaching the TARDIS, and then she honks her horn, the doors open, And as she drives in the TARDIS, the camera follows her on the bike, and she comes to a skidding halt, and she's inside the TARDIS set and everything. It's a seamless transition. It's really good. Yeah,
it does look good. Yeah, I can imagine when Moff's writing that, the producers are like, "Oh, blimey!" And there were so many things in the Moffat era where he is so adventurous with his thoughts and what he wants to see on screen that he's probably a bit of a budget nightmare, Moffat. But whoever put that together did it seamlessly. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Before we just breeze through very quickly some of the supporting cast, what Easter eggs did you see?
Easter eggs.
Yeah. Did you notice any?
Yeah, I just realised actually we haven't even talked about Osgood. Obviously wearing the Fourth Doctor's scarf, and Matt's Doctor makes a nice comment on that, doesn't he? He's like, cool scarf, which is excellent. Other Easter eggs, well, there's the bit where the 10th Doctor says about the TARDIS interior, "Oh, you've redecorated. I don't like it," which of course is a great line from the Five Doctors. There's the "good to see my future is in safe hands" quote from Five Doctors. I do like the fact that the Moffat didn't change the 10th Doctor's last line as well. And I think that's just a really clever little, because some fans hold on to stuff like that. They're like, the 10th Doctor's last line was, "I don't want to go." And it is still, even after this episode, "I don't want to go." So that's cool. I don't know. Yeah. What other Easter eggs did I miss?
So the, as you said, the opening stuff, it sort of mimics the opening scene in An Unearthly Child, with Totters Lane and then Coal Hill School and so on. And there's a sign that says, "I. Chesterton is chairman of the school's board of governors."
Oh, yeah, forgot about that. Yes.
Yep. And it also says W. Coburn is headmaster, which is an in-joke. So Anthony Coburn, who wrote An Unearthly Child. Blah, brilliant. Blah, blah. When Clara's leaving the school, a clock is on the wall, and it's 5:16, which is the broadcast time of An Unearthly Child.
Cool.
Yep. So when Kate realises that there's these chaps that she's dealing with are actually all doctors, she asks for one of her father's files codenamed Chroma, which is a reference to the Brigadier first believing that the antimatter universe in the Three Doctors was Chroma. The access code for Jack Harkness's vortex manipulator is 1716231163. Which is the time 1716 on the 23rd of the 11th 63, which is when Unearthly Child went out. You can't really read it too well in the episode, but when Clara looks, they've got in the archive, they've got that pin board with all the references to Doctor Who, like photos of Susan and other bits on there.
Chameleons on there, I saw.
Yeah, you can see Ace's full name, Dorothy Gale McShane, is on there. You've got Romana 2. And then a source book, Journeys Through History, a source book for GCSE, which is Harry Sullivan's book.
Oh wow!
And all that stuff, and then you've got these are a little bit sort of kind of Easter eggs, but when Gallifrey gets popped out of time and all the Daleks explode and stuff, all the ships, there's one Dalek fighter ship or pod that you can see be clearly knocked out of destruction very deliberately, insinuating basically that not all the Daleks were destroyed in this time war. And so they pop up. Yeah, so you can see that everything else is sort of random, and this ship goes off in a very straight line, and you can see it. And also the round things at the gallery at the end, which are obviously roundels.
There's a lot more than I realised. And I love stuff like that, don't you? I love the attention to detail. I wish we saw more of that board, with all the photos on. I know you can freeze frame it, but I remember seeing that in the Doctor Who exhibition in Cardiff.
Oh, the exhibition.
I remember seeing that. They had that board with all the pictures on, and there was so much on there. And I was thinking, I just wish we saw it a bit clearer in the episode, because it's just full of Easter eggs. The other one as well, did you notice the brilliant line when they're both trying to reverse the polarity? And he's like, well, I'm reversing it and you're reversing it back. We're confusing the polarity. I just thought that was a brilliant line.
Amazing.
And a really nice callback, and a nice way to use that line that's been said 1,000 times, but make it fresh and funny again. So, yeah, that was a cool little Easter egg.
Yeah, that was very cool. And there was a lot of bants, wasn't there, around the Sonics which is almost
Yes.
like a little jab at people who criticise the use of it. So the War Doctor's like, what are you doing? You're going to
You're
build
waving it around like that for?
you're going to build a wardrobe in front of them. And so that's like a little in-joke, I think, from Moffbag. Because we went through this phase, didn't we, where you and I even commented on when we reviewed some stories where the Sonic sort of saves the day a lot, in Modern Who quite
Matt's
a bit.
uses the Sonic a lot.
Yeah. So that was a little bit of we're just going to wave it around quite a lot in this one and make reference to it, which is kind of cool.
And the fact about the Doctor being skinny as well. And, there's another little extra on the Blu-ray where it was like an intro to the cinema screening where Matt's Doctor comes on and then 10 comes on in the middle. Have you seen that little intro? Because I didn't see this at the cinema. But there's a really funny bit where Matt's Doctor disappears and Tennant comes on and he's like talking to the audience. He's like, sorry, I know this is in 3D, and he makes a reference to Matt's big chin and stuff like that. And I just love the fact that the relationship between Moffat and the actors is so good. They can actually, say things like this in a fun way, and we can all relate to them. Like you said, the overuse of the Sonic and Tennant being so skinny and Matt's big chin and stuff like that. And I love it when they look at each other as well with the glasses and they're like, oh, lovely, and all that sort of stuff. There's so many great moments between the Doctors like that. It's so fun. And that's down to Moffat's script, just brimming with so many funny moments. Yeah,
and you can see that in the behind the scenes as well with David Tennant and Matt Smith, just them sitting down on those chairs having a laugh, and the chemistry is very good.
Yeah,
very cool. I remember when David Tennant was announced as coming back for this, and we had that stuff. You did wonder, you did think, how are these two going to get on? And we assumed that they would get on fine, but I don't know. But they seem to get on really well. Those two. It's like the chemistry is 100% real, genuine. It's not just when the cameras are rolling. It's this forced thing. They're very cool. So I'm glad that Tennant's back for the 60th. I'm just hoping that Matt gets announced at some point, and we have some more bands. It never gets old, mate. Never.
It's got to happen. It's got to happen.
Let's breeze through very quickly some other characters then. And first up, what do you think to Jenna Coleman then as Clara in this one?
She's fine. She doesn't get as much to do as I thought. I don't know about you. I felt like she wasn't in it as much as I thought she was, but I do like the scene she's in. I love the bit where she, bashes through the door and it's not even locked. I love the scene when she's chatting to the War Doctor just in that quiet moment. I like the fact she's sort of the scene with her and Matt as well at the end when he's like, what is it? Tell me, and all that, and she sort of gets Matt's Doctor, I think, at this point. She's sort of really looking out for him. And she's like, I could just see it in your eyes. And, she's really got to know his Doctor. So I think there were some lovely moments, actually, between those two. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought
Jenna's, she's good. Yeah.
I thought she was cool because she doesn't sort of intrude into the story too much. She doesn't overtake, but she's there as that sort of emotional anchor for Matt Smith's Doctor, which is, like you said, at the end.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. Billy Piper. Back as Rose / the Moment
/ Bad Wolf.
Yeah, this could have been really complicated. This could have been a real misstep, but to be honest, she plays just a very simple, she's basically the UI, right? The interface for this weapon. Yeah. And because she can see inside the Doctor's thoughts and memories and stuff like that, the form that she takes is apparently one of the fondest forms, I guess, from both his past and his future, because the Doctor wouldn't have seen Rose at this point, this particular Doctor anyway. So she's like, I chose this form sort of thing from your past, and then she's confused, like, or is it your future? I don't know. So it's obviously a very, whatever this weapon is, this moment, it's very, which is why it's in a forbidden thing in Gallifrey, right? So, but it just happens to be the UI, the interface of this thing. So it could have been a misstep. They could have integrated Rose properly into it as a companion who shows up and blah, blah, blah. But they didn't. They chose to leave that. So even though Rose as a character was extremely popular throughout Eccleston and Tennant's era, they, like I said, he could have brought her back and integrated. But no, they just kept it sort of simple, and she just pops up and she doesn't even interact with Tennant once in the entire story.
No, she doesn't.
So you kind of think, like, is she going to appear in David Tennant's Doctor's mind? And is it going to be a lovely little throwback where she gives him a smile and he smiles back and that's it? But no, the Moffat just keeps you keeps you guessing all the way to the end, and then it's like, no, they don't interact once. It's very cool, very cleverly written.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this is much better. I think the Rose storyline was sort of done and dusted, and I think it's great that she's in the 50th, because again, she was an important part of the relaunch, so I think it's right she's there. To introduce her as this other character that is still sort of Rose but not Rose, like this interface, the moment, it's a really good idea. I love it, and I think Billy's great. The way she's sort of helping the War Doctor through this, she's almost a bit, I hadn't realised this till yesterday really, she's almost a bit like the Watcher. She's just in the background, and she just kind of lurking. But there's some lovely moments when, like, again, when they're in the cell, and she's just like, ask them, you need to ask them the question, while you're there here, sort of thing. Don't be afraid to sort of say it. So there's some really great moments from her in this, and I love this idea as well, the look that they've given her. And there's a scene, you're right, she doesn't interact with Tennant's Doctor at all, but is there a scene at the end where they're sort of next to each other but don't... I don't know. There's some good moments anyway with her. Maybe I'm getting confused because I watched the making of and he's talking to her in that. I think that's what I'm thinking of. He's like making a joke about her new look or something. But because those two obviously get on really well together, you can tell that as well. Mm-hmm. But you're right, they don't interact in this story. But yeah, the moment cube, Billie Piper, fantastic in it. Really, really nice performance from her.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Gemma Redgrave, Kate Stewart, she had a great scene in that, in the archive. Is it not the Black Archive? Is it the Black Archive?
It's Black Archive, yeah.
Yeah, she has a great scene in that where she's got her Zygon equivalent.
Oh, that's gross, isn't it? When she throws up and starts starts turning Zygon. It's absolutely horrific.
Yeah, it's cool. That was a cool effect though.
Very good, yeah.
Yeah, so up to that point she's great, obviously. But then when she has to act against herself, if that makes sense, which they then sort of composite that in at the end, she's really cool because she plays that very subtly. So at the bit up to that point when they're in the room where they're trying to decide if they're going to cancel the countdown and stop the destruction, that's, the bomb that's going to go off. And you've got the Zygon version who's very like short-tempered and a little bit more venom in her tongue versus like the standard Kate Stewart. But then when the Doctor turns off the what's the device on the ceiling that makes them...
the forget machine.
Oh, that kind of, yeah. She then goes back to playing the same Kate Stewart as she did before, but having to interact with herself. It's very clever. She played that very cool. Yeah, she had a good one in this.
Yeah, I thought she was good in this. Yeah. So it's a good use of that plot device as well, the memory thing. It's a good idea to use that.
Did you like her ringtone as well?
What was her ringtone?
Take-off sound effect.
Was it?
Yeah. So Osgood's got her phone and you hear the TARDIS taking off the sound effects, and she runs over. Oh, your phone's ringing.
Oh,
at the very beginning.
That. Yeah. Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, when they're sat on the South Bank. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes.
Nice down there. Osgood, Ingrid Oliver. She's funny.
I'd forgotten. So this must be the first time we meet her, isn't it? I'm thinking,
it is,
because obviously we've got to know Osgood through other stories since. Yeah, no, she's a great character. I like this sort of super fan idea. And I think Ingrid Oliver plays her really well, actually. It's really cool at the end as well, when the inhaler thing, one of them needs it, one doesn't, and which one's which. This goes on throughout the series now, doesn't it? Like every time I meet her, is she the Zygon Osgood or isn't she? So a nice performance from her. And I love the fact that she's got the Doctor's scarf on. I think the next time we see her, she's wearing the question mark pullover, I think. Yeah, so there's a nice little... It's a nice way of including a bit of cool fan service without being too obvious. It's just like she is a super fan of the Doctor, so of course she would wear those things. Yeah,
she's cool. Yeah. And the Moth throws in another little head scratcher as well. She's like, so if I'm Zygon, that means that my clothes are Zygon, right? So what if I lose a shoe?
Yeah.
And then they don't answer that. It's just...
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you got a point, but yeah.
It's just the Moth acknowledging that there's a bit of a flaw in the concept, but I'm going to point it out but not actually give you an answer, because it makes you think there must be an answer even if there isn't. Yeah, great.
No, it's very cool. Yes. And there's a bunch of other cast members all play relatively small parts. What about Queen Elizabeth then, Joanna Page?
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, there's so many people in this. We're never going to cover them all, but yeah, I'd forgotten about her. I think she's quite good casting, actually. I quite like her in it. I particularly love the bit when the Doctor's insulting her, thinking she's the Zygon. He's like, God, of course you're the Zygon with that breath and all this, and and then she's like the real Queen Elizabeth. Yeah, she's pretty good in it, actually. I thought, well, quite nicely cast, anyway.
Yeah, she was quite funny as well.
Yeah, she's funny. Yeah.
And Matt Smith's Doctor's giving the Tennant's Doctor some stick over it. He's like, oh,
yeah,
venom sacs in the tongue. He's like, yeah, all right, drop it.
Yeah, some great scenes.
Hashtag bant, so.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of other people that play quite slightly smaller parts. We have Paul Casey back playing one of the Zygons. Paul Casey's been in an alien monster
every
suit
monster,
for decades now. Nick Briggs does the voice of the Daleks and the Zygons. Barnaby Edwards, he's back inside a Dalek with Nicholas Pegg
getting
and
blown up.
and some other people. So great performances, dude, pretty much all round.
The cast, honestly, is just absolutely banging in this. Everyone's on top form.
Yes.
Everyone, even from the extras right up to the Doctors.
Yes. And lastly for me, Murray's music was brilliant in this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Murray's on fire. I mean, he probably felt the pressure to really bring it, didn't he? This being the 50th, he's like, God, I've got to make this good. And it really is. Yeah, his music. Just bombastic when it needs to be, beautiful when it needs to be, and yeah, top score from Murray.
Top shelf stuff from Murray, yeah. Rightio. Have you got anything on your notes, dude, before we get on to a score?
I just very quickly, I wanted to ask you, because we haven't spoke much about the Zygons, and I love this parallel sort of dilemma that we've got. So we've got the Doctor wanting to push the red button, well, not wanting to, but this dilemma over pushing the red button, paralleled with Earth and this dilemma of the Zygons and the humans having the face off. So I like that sort of parallel dilemma. But the Zygons themselves, when I first watched this, I felt they were very underused and wasted, because this is the first time we've seen them since Terror of the Zygons. So was so excited to see them back, and they're not actually in it much. And also I felt like there was no real resolution to the Zygon storyline in this. But I have to say, having watched this again yesterday, and maybe it's because we've had other stories with them since, which has helped, but it didn't really bother me too much, actually, that stuff. I thought the Zygons were actually quite good in it, and they kind of needed to take a back seat, because they're not really what the story's about. They're more thrown in to add an extra element to the story. So, but I just wondered, how did you feel about the Zygons in the story? Did you like them, or did you feel they were underused?
They were underused, for sure, but there's only so much that you can do, even with the extended runtime of is it nearly 80 minutes or all in all, which definitely helped, absolutely, which I think is why the Legends of Sea Devils and the one before that didn't do quite well, because the runtime had been cut, let alone extended. So you end up having to speed run through certain things. So I think there's only so much you can do without it feeling like, because we need those slower moments and those quieter moments, especially in an episode like this where you've got this not so much a big kind of action thing going on, which it does have in its own right, but it's not a big, like, there's an alien that wants to blow up this ship with everybody on it, or blow up the Earth or something like that, and the Doctor's up against it. This is more of an internal struggle with the Doctor's own conscience and its own morality and stuff like that. So it really needed to have those quiet moments littered throughout the episode. And I think if you had the Zygons running around a lot more frequently, you would have missed out on having those moments. So it's great that they were back, and they look pretty cool. They're glad they didn't mess with the design too much. But the downside of that is that they weren't used as much, especially on screen. You don't really see them as a Zygon on screen that much. It's only, a couple of minutes overall.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But they were underused a bit. Yeah.
I suppose you're right. There's already a lot going on. If you have more of it, it's just going to get even more cluttered. And I think they get the balance just right, actually. I think rewatching this, I think they get it just right. 77 minutes is a strange runtime as well, isn't it? And that to me just says, like, they said, I don't know, I could be wrong, but to me that just says, no, that's That's it. I'm not going to add in 10 minutes of padding. I'm not going to cut out 2 minutes of stuff I don't want to lose. It's 77 minutes. That's what I wanted. That's the story. And I don't know if I'm right in saying that, but it's just such a strange runtime. What, it's not 75, it's not 90, it's 77 because that's what it is, you know. And I just think I like that because you could have put in another 10, 15 minutes of padding to make it up to 90, and it could have easily, I think, had another 10 minutes. You could have put some extra stuff in, but you know, when they came to the edit, they clearly decided that was it, and it feels just right. I think you said earlier the pacing and storytelling just flows brilliantly, and yeah, so it's 77 minutes. That's your lot.
There you go.
You know?
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, bang, done.
Yeah, it was paced very well. It was very okay. So I think it's me to go first, right?
You go first. Yeah,
I'm giving this a 9 out of 10.
9 out
and
of 10.
I think the reason I'm giving it a 9 is because most of it was so strong, and Moff just wrote an absolute banger of a timey-wimey story that wasn't too convoluted. I'm taking a point off. It would have been a 10, but I'm taking a point off because of what I mentioned earlier, which is I feel like it didn't include enough classic Who to make it a celebration of 50 years. Although I do understand why. I would have liked to have seen the other Doctors, especially McGann, play a bigger part. Yep.
Perfect sum up, mate. I'm also giving it a 9 for those exact same reasons. I think it's a really fun watch, and it's a really good episode. And yeah, I'm taking a point off for exactly what you just said.
Oh, cool.
But I think it's great. Yeah, so I'm giving it a 9 out of 10.
A 9 out of 10 as well. So 9's all round then from us. I'm not going to read out every. I'm not going to read the entire tweet from and Facebook message from everybody because you guys went mad on this. It would be here forever, but I'm just going to give you the highlights. So Alex Kingdom, hello Alex, I haven't spoken in a while, dude. Alex says Moffat knocked it out of the park and delivered a brilliant 70-ish minutes of Who and gives it a 9 out of 10. Will Sanger says brilliant. It's about what it means to be the Doctor and celebrates what makes the character so special. Goes on to give it a 9 out of 10. Our friend Rick Moran says, I was both excited and worried at the same time about this one because I didn't want to be disappointed after waiting for so long to see it after watching the superb teaser trailer. Then he says that, however, Moff pulled it off. This is how to celebrate a milestone such as the 50th. It gives it a 10 out of 10. Okay, Edward Giluli says, an enjoyable celebration of the show. All 3 Doctors shine, an 8 out of 10. Chippy T says, stunning, great sci-fi concepts. A script fizzing with emotion, humour and subtle nods to the show's history. A 10 out of 10.
10.
Tom Turlow says, what can be said about this that has been said a million times before? While I don't think it's quite the barnstorming masterpiece others do, it's still very, very good, entertaining, funny, poignant and satisfying. It's a shame Eccleston declined the invite to appear and that McGann was not invited at all. Gives it a 9 out of 10. Sam Dooley says, a gloriously emotional celebration of why I and so many others adore this series. 9 out of 10. Jacob Moore, such an amazing episode, really special occasion. Thought Moffat put story over fan service, which is fine because it was a great story. And there was a bit of there too. So 9 out of 10. TBLW, Toku BL Whovian says, possibly my fave Doctor Who story. There's so much I want to say, but I don't know how to put it into words, so I'll leave it as a score instead. 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Brian Chapman, the Day of the Doctor is the pinnacle of modern Who and a fitting celebration of the show. 9.5 cup of soups out of 10. John Winston, a triumph, plain and simple. Not my fave era of Who, but this was faultless bit of TV. 10 out of 10. Charlie B, it's a great episode. Moff did so well writing this and managed to control himself. 9 out of 10. Dan Pinn says, absolute perfection. 10 out of 10. Smith, Tennant and Hurt are brilliant together. Moffat somehow takes a ton of ingredients and makes them work. Also chucking in a couple of surprises with Baker and Capaldi. Just brilliant.
Yes.
Owen, Doctor Who Home, says, rather fitting to do this now, in bracket Tennant, exclamation marks.
Yeah.
Day the Doctor is a delight. Having Tennant back in 2013 was really special, and he nailed it. John Hurt is fantastic. And this story is bombastic, a 10 out of 10. Lee Cowden, a close to perfect as it could have been. It crosses every box. I'm just taking half a point off for the slightly misjudged, in my opinion, scene where the 10th insults Elizabeth's looks, smell and intelligence. 9.5, Sarah Louise, the running Whovian, an absolute joy to watch. Smith performs beautifully and clearly maintains his position as the Doctor, despite sharing the screen with his predecessors, quote unquote. She gives it a 10 out of 10. And lastly, Martin Holloway says, well done, the BBC, another winner! Exclamation mark. And then over on Facebook, Aaron Lamb gives it 8.5 out of 10. Martin Arnold says, honestly, it's a reasonably enjoyable story, but as an anniversary episode, 50 years strong, it's nowhere near as strong as the 5 Doctors. For example, shoehorning in John Hurt made no sense, a character we've never heard of or met, just for this story. Same with the shoehorning Tom Baker, and it was a cut scene, but it adds nothing to the story. The whole 50th was a wasted opportunity. Oh, Martin.
Oh, no.
The first dud score from Martin, oh dear. Dean Jones gives it a 9 out of 10. Harry Masiniak, one of our writers, gives it a 10 out of 10. Mark Harrison, 9 out of 10 or 49 out of 50. Joseph Howarth, 9 out of 10. Stephen Stewart, 8.5. Gavrik Sawyer, a 1 out of 10. Oh dear.
What?
Oh no. Adam Mamoon, one of our good friends Adam, gives it an 8 out of 10. Charlie Turner gives it a 9 out of 10. Cameron Artley, 8 out of 10. Chris Vint gives it no score, but he's very fond of it because he said, I'm off to have a cup of soup. And Toby Coleman gives it a 9.5. So, dude, the average is a 9 for sure.
Yeah, so mostly 99% positive there. A couple of people not really feeling it, but yeah, quite high scores there mostly.
Yeah, Gavrik Sawyer, Martin Arnold, not feeling this one. Oh dear. Right, dude. So, well, some great scores there. Right, just to confirm that we're not here next week, so no show next week, but the week after that, what have we got for review?
Yeah, so we'll be going back to Miracle Day, and this episode's called Rendition. Sorry, I nearly said Redemption. Rendition, it's called. So this is episode 2 of Miracle Day.
Nice one. Back on the old Torchwood. Cool.
Yes.
Alrighty. On that note, then, let's end it there for 352.
Alrighty.
Thank you very much for coming back and listening to another episode, another week. That was 352. Thank you so much for all of you that jumped onto Twitter and Facebook to give us your thoughts on our review story this week, which was The Day of the Doctor. It's a cracking story, and I'm not going to leave it so long before a rewatch on that one, I think, because I haven't seen it in ages. So yeah, thank you very much. And if you want to read the social comments in their entirety, make sure that you follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Links on the website, and you can go and read those thoughts and mini reviews and reply to them if you want. You have some conversation happening over on the old socials. So week after next, we are back on Torchwood for Rendition, episode 2 of the 4th series. It's series 4, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
So get your DVDs and your Blu-rays or your iPlayer fired up to give that a watch, because we'll be asking for your thoughts on that one as usual. In the meantime, make sure you're following this podcast on your preferred app of choice so you won't miss a show when it lands every Friday, or you can listen on the website, which is bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all the episodes for free over there, plus there are links to go off to the socials and our Discord server, which is also free. Just hop in there and chat Doctor Who with other Who fans. And if you've got a second to leave us a review or a rating on something like Apple Podcasts or podchaser.com, that'd be amazing, because that helps us out loads and loads. Also, check out Adam's channel on YouTube and the socials. It's the Geek's Handbag. Go and check it out.
Geek's Handbag, yes. Lots of Doctor Who vids on there. Go and have a look. Also on all the socials, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Indeedy. Go and have a butcher's. Right, until a couple of weeks' time. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember, Aaaaaaaallons-y.